Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire potential briefing for Monday, May 25th. Still a demo version that we're showing of what we're considering to be our new template for this season's briefing. So if you look at it, things you like or don't like, please leave a comment section. If you open up this briefing in YouTube and you're signed into Google, you should be able to leave a brief message in the chat section at the bottom of the video. Greatly appreciate your input, and we often tweak our format based on if we get several of the same types of comments, so please do that. Looking at our summary, we're looking at a gradual warming and drying trend that occurred this weekend. It's already dried out fuels a little bit. Gusty winds in northwest Nevada and southwest Idaho today. Humidity still dry. Some of the fuels have dried out on the surface over the last 72 hours, so we'll see what happens. And some of that dry, windy condition will shift over to the eastern Nevada and western Utah tomorrow, and then shift further eastwards into eastern Utah Wednesday and Thursday. A lot of the fuels over the past few days have dried out and will continue that process, getting into the 80th and 90th percentiles in many southern central areas. However, a good portion of Nevada and Idaho, especially the western areas, will be moistening up by midweek as a low-pressure area moves across the region. It's got a lot to unpack here. Impact map for today. In the reddish shade, warm and dry just about everywhere. Temperatures 5 to 10 degrees above normal, low humidity. We do have some spotty, isolated thunderstorms popping up here and there. Nothing too concentrated, but a strong belt of winds 30 to 40 miles an hour, where you see this orange shade here in western areas. It's a concern. Fuels are marginal, still early in the season. It's still third week in May, but something we'll have to watch. We've had some recent fire activity in parts of southern Utah. Now, for Tuesday, that belt of strong winds and low humidity does shift further eastwards. We start seeing more moistening, especially in northern areas. The moisture deepens a little bit more and then really deepens on Wednesday with an approaching low pressure area moving into western Nevada. A lot of moistening through there, but there's going to be a dry, windy wedge of air across eastern Utah. We'll have to watch that area each day that they're in that kind of a condition. The fuels continue to dry. We could see gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour each of these days through here. Over the last 24 hours, some spotty, light precipitation, nothing too much, and there was a handful of lightning strikes. Again, as winds increase in some of these areas, we'll have to watch some of these lightning strikes for possibilities of new ignitions. Otherwise, it's been a fairly dry 7-day period for much of the area, except for the higher terrain of northern Utah. Some of the mountains there did pick up a half inch to 3/4 inches of precip. That was basically about 7 days ago. We have that high elevation snow. A lot of that snow's been rapidly melting off. Fire activity starting to pick up. A lot of small starts here in the red circles. A larger fire of a couple of 100 acres up here in southern Idaho. So again, something we have to consider. Long-term, should say shorter-term drought over the past 2 months. A flash drought index shows the most severe conditions in our southern areas, but starting to creep into our central areas as well. The finer fuels, 10-hour fuels, show the most drying across our southern areas, but starting to see an access of somewhat drier, maybe 8-9% 10-hour fuel moisture creeping into parts of southern Idaho, where it seemed to correlate with some of that fire activity. Even though there's greenness in the grass still left over, there's also some leftover heavy carryover fuels and undergrowth underneath that could be propelling some of that. Looking at our area of concern this afternoon across northwest Nevada, you can see that current conditions were somewhere near the 85th percentile on the ERCs. So with the winds today, that's a concern, but we'll see those values drop off precipitously with the precipitation, pun intended, coming in later on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Same story for southwest Idaho, also near the 85th percentile, but today should be the last critical day as the humidity rises, as precipitation arrives next few days. And let's look at that upper level map. Deep low pressure dropping down out of British Columbia, but ahead of it, dry air and some stronger winds. We do have some mid to upper level moisture over eastern Utah. Could produce some isolated lightning in some areas. Not a lot of rain, but somewhat higher humidity. See that low drop down a bit further south on Tuesday and Wednesday, moistening things up across Nevada and up in Idaho. But by Wednesday, still a dry wedge of air up through here. So we don't have high risk yet, but we've elevated to moderate risk in the areas in brown here on Monday, where we do expect some of those gusty winds, also very dry down south. And on Tuesday, we moisten things up in western and northern areas, but we've elevated to moderate risk here in the brown, where we will see humidity below 15%, gusts of wind over 30, maybe even 40 miles an hour, and that same dry, windy condition shifts a little further eastwards on Wednesday. So we've elevated the yellows to brown over there, but about 3/4 of the geographic area will start to significantly moisten up for at least a few days. Now, looking at those winds and humidity, you can see those winds here in the purple gusting in the upper 30s to low 40s here in northwest Nevada and some parts of southwest Idaho. You see the low humidity on the bottom part of your screen. And then on Tuesday, those winds get even stronger. We see some of these purple areas, gusts 45 to 50 miles an hour, and lots of gusts near 40, pushing further northwards. You can see where those winds coincide with humidity below 15%. But you notice the humidity starts rising across western areas. And then on Wednesday, it's tricky. The front kind of stalls out, windy all across parts of Utah and even eastern Nevada. But once you get into eastern Nevada, you see that minimum humidity near 30%. So it's really going to be more across central and eastern portions of Utah, where we have that combination of low humidity to go along with the wind. Precipitation next couple of days. Today, some spotty showers and thunderstorms. Not super wet, not super dry, just a mix of both. Starting to increase. A lot of this you see in Idaho is going to be after sunset. So it'll be dry and windy during the day. Then after about 10 or 11 p.m., spotty showers could come in, and those showers get more numerous in our western and northern areas as we go through Tuesday and Wednesday. Looking at days 4 through 6, deep low pressure over I would say central California, wrapping around lots of moisture. But again, that moisture misses our far eastern areas, so we leave those in the yellow. Friday, same story. That low just sits around for a while before it finally starts to fill in and diminish. We get drier air moving into all areas by next weekend on Saturday. Now, the winds, still a concern on Thursday. We have some of these strong winds overlaid with low humidity along and east of the Utah mountains through there. Still remaining a little breezy, but winds diminishing on Friday. And where you do have these stronger winds in Nevada, the humidity is quite a bit higher, and they would have had a lot of rain, and winds really start to slacken off next weekend. Precipitation Thursday, Friday, Saturday adds up a little bit, about 1/10 to 1/4 inch each day. We add it all up over the 7-day period. We see a lot of areas in northern Nevada and parts of Idaho, about a 1/2 inch to almost an inch of precipitation in a lot of areas. Lighter amounts further east. We look at the whole 7-day period. Again, on Monday, we have wind issues in northwest Nevada and southern, just dryness in southern Utah. And that elevated concern here on Tuesday with winds and low humidity. Wind and low humidity concerns on Wednesday before things finally start quieting down just a little bit as the winds slacken off and humidity stays high. 8 to 14, the outlook shows a warmer than normal temperatures across many areas. A wetter than normal signal coming out of the deep south. Not quite a full monsoon, but some moisture from the subtropics. Again, maybe skirting our eastern areas. I don't know if it'll be as heavy here in Utah. A lot of this is compared to normal, and normally end of May to early June, normal is not much precipitation at all, but definitely drier as you head further north and west. Concludes our briefing. Again, please leave a comment in the comments section if you go to our YouTube channel, log in, or send an email to any of our emails through here and let us know, email-wise, what you think. Have a good one. Talk to you tomorrow.